BBC Radio Suffolk.
It's 9:18 and you're still here with me. Thank you for staying with me. It's Eli covering for Angel tonight, and we're having a brilliant night tonight. It's amazing. Make sure that you stay listening. Go back and listen on BBC Sounds. You can even hear Angel on there as well. We've got lots coming up for you, but right now I'm going to talk to a leading West African drummer, an expert in percussion and playing all sorts of instruments, actually. They're playing at the Wooden Roots this year, and they'll be playing or flying over because they're in California at the moment. I've got Monette Marino, a world percussionist. She's also a solo artist and runs her own school of percussion called Mo Rhythm. Love that. And she joins me live on the show. How are you doing, Monette?
Hi, Eli. I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thank you for getting in contact all the way from across the ocean.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So, Wooden Roots, tell us about what it is, because you're coming all the way over here for it, right?
I am. I met these guys, though, first in Los Angeles. Okay. So I've known them for quite a few years. They had started Wooden Roots up, just from the passion of loving this music and the skill of making the djembes. Marcus and Gemma Brown, they fell in love with this culture. And I met them in Los Angeles, went to their place and did a workshop and fell in love with them.
And it's pronounced Djembe, right? I always get it wrong. I see it and it's a silent D, or it's Djembe?
Yes, it's a silent D. Yeah, it's pronounced Djembe, correct.
And you've got an amazing resume. I've been trawling through your stuff and on your app. When did you get started?
So, I mean, we have to go way, way, way back when I first started, because my father was a drum set player. So he taught me to play drums when I was like 8 years old. Okay. And I grew up playing drum set and then got into hand percussion when I was about 15 or so. We live in a town that's close to the border of Mexico. So salsa music and Latin music was very popular and prominent in this part of the country. Okay. So my dad had congas and kind of watched the salsa bands and taught himself some stuff and then passed that on to me. And I fell in love with touching the skin on directly with my hand rather than going through a drumstick, which was the drum set.
Right.
So that took me on the trajectory of Latin music, which was into Afro-Cuban music, into Afro-Brazilian music, and all of those began with Afro. Yeah. So eventually I was led to African percussion, and that's when I found the djembe. That was like 1994.
Wow. Brilliant. 1994. Loads of experience. And you must have seen there's so many trends happening now with percussion involved, and obviously African music is blowing up around the world. What do you think of that? Because you've seen it go from music that was, not really in mainstream to being the mainstream.
It's amazing, and it's about time. A friend of mine, another amazing percussionist, was on tour with Beyonce and broke into a Zauli, which is a traditional rhythm from Ivory Coast, in the middle of a set of Beyonce. Or actually, I take that back. It wasn't Beyonce. It was Erykah Badu. Excuse me.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's phenomenal to see the music coming into the pop genre. Yeah. But keep in mind, most of the pop genre that we hear today came from African music. Yeah. It was influenced all the way back, starting with blues and jazz, the source of all of that. So it's kind of full circle. It's coming back around in its traditional setting now into pop music, like it's going back to the origins.
Absolutely. And I guess the real difference now is that the word Africa is at the forefront. The culture is at the forefront. You are seeing the percussionists, you're seeing the people who are developing the music, and they're getting more of a say in how it's perceived.
Correct. Right.
So you're going to be running, is it workshops you're going to be delivering at Wooden Roots, or will you be playing in a performance?
I'm actually going to be doing some workshops, and I'm excited because this year they decided to do a special workshop which is focused on the very basic techniques that you need to be able to build your skill and your repertoire on the djembe. So I love that. I love being able to communicate to students the smallest little detail. How do you get a good sound out of the djembe? How
Yeah.
should your hands be placed on the djembe? And go over some rudiments. Like these are techniques, skills that you need, kind of like drum set. Everybody hears about drum set rudiments where you do paradiddles, for example. I'm sure you're
Yes.
familiar with that term.
Yes,
Well,
definitely.
djembe has techniques like that as well.
Okay.
And we just don't, they're not standardized in the sense of Western music as drum set is, but they are the rolls of 4, 5, and 6, for example. There are flams, and those are essential techniques to being able to solo on the djembe, and sometimes even just playing accompaniments have those.
Mm.
So I get to focus on giving those, the foundational elements of djembe to some of the newer students and even more experienced students that just never had the time and the dedication of somebody focused on showing them those little details.
Yeah. And you're an experienced teacher, so I'm sure you've got all of the techniques. However, I'm also sure most people who come to you have an interest or already have started in their own time. Something like Wooden Roots, from what I understand, there are absolute beginners going to be there. Do you have any tricks up your sleeve to get beginners in rhythm or understanding certain things?
Yeah, I have a ton of tricks because that's all I focus on, honestly. My classes in the States and California are mostly beginners, and
Okay.
I really love to focus in and get them to a place where they feel like they're connecting to the rhythm. It's very satisfying when you go from somebody who has never touched a drum to seeing them become, proficient playing a rhythm and at speed.
Yeah.
And I had one of the best teachers in terms of being a teacher. My teacher, Mama Keita, was
Yes.
well known throughout the world as one of the premier teachers of djembe. And I observed him for, a good 25 years and was side by side many of those years as his translator and his assistant. And so I picked up a lot of those little tricks that he has
Yeah.
when he teaches beginners.
Yeah. So I'm a DJ and I watch the dance floor, and I'm sorry, but I don't think everybody has rhythm. But it sounds like it sounds like you disagree. Does everybody have rhythm?
Okay, so here's the thing. There are people that don't currently have rhythm, and I've witnessed that on the dance floor as well.
Yeah.
However, I am a firm believer that everybody can develop a sense of rhythm because we all have a heartbeat. Rhythm runs in our body. Our body functions on a heartbeat, which is a
Yeah.
consistent rhythm. So it takes time, and everybody's time to develop that connection is different. Some tap into it quickly, and others take years and years and years. And it's a slow process, but it is possible.
I'll take your word for it. I mean, when you said years and years, like that could go into decades, I suppose, too.
Yes.
Well, it sounds really cool. I've really wanted to get into percussion myself. And the other side of it, I know some percussionists is they like to build as well, and it's about feeling your instrument and understanding your instrument on a deeper level sometimes than it is perhaps when you pick up something like a trumpet.
Yes. When I teach, I always explain to people that the djembe is a drum that speaks.
Yeah.
And this is information that was taught to me from Mamadi. The djembe speaks. What does that mean to speak? It means there is a language, and just like every language that we speak, there is an alphabet. And being able to structure your sound is where you develop your sense of poetry. Because the djembe, when you start to play rhythms and then you start to play improvisations, you're essentially writing poetry, but with your drum. And so to give the djembe its due honor, you have to learn that language to be able to speak djembe.
And then when you're all together in chorus, it must feel amazing when you're all when it's right.
It truly is. It's a buzz that happens in your body and in your brain because you're connecting. And that's the other beautiful thing about this music, the djembe. It's community creating. It's something that happens in community, and not just with the drummers, because there's the drummers, then there's the dancers, and then there's everybody else who might be clapping their hands or singing the songs.
Yeah.
It's everybody in unison participating in that event. And keep in mind that rhythms always happen for an event. There's always a purpose of the rhythm. It's not a random, hey, let's just go jam in the park. There's a purpose. And so that also unifies the community together.
That sounds amazing. I wish I could be there, but I will have to settle for your app. And I love the name of the app. Mo Rhythm Africa. Again, rhythm is there. Do you think the app helps people to get into it? Because it's kind of soil, it's cold and it's a machine and it's not quite the same.
Well, it's not the same as a teacher. It will never replace a teacher, but it's hard to find 5 people who know all the dunun parts, which is the big barrel drums, the bass drums that go with the djembe, and the djembe players to be able to play at the same level. So it's really meant to help people develop their own skill and also to learn new things and practice to bring to a group of people that they're playing with. So it's not meant to replace a teacher or playing live in person. But I certainly did the best I could given a digital format. There are videos on there, which is great. So you can actually download the videos by touching the instrument picture, because the instruments are sort of in a TV screen if you look closely. Yeah. And you touch that and it prompts you to buy the videos, and then you see my hands. Right. And then my daughter plays some of the dunun. She plays the 3 ballet dunun in all those videos. So you can.
So it's a family affair.
Yes, it's a family affair. That's right.
Amazing. Amazing.
She's got all the skill of her father and I combined. Her father, of course, Mama Di Keita. So she's double trouble.
Excellent. She's the future.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So before we let you go, it sounds amazing, by the way. I'd love for you to teach me. So if I'm ever out in California, I might have to come and hit you up and see if we can make it happen.
That's true. Or next year, maybe 2025, you come out to Wooden Roots.
Absolutely. So Wooden Roots is on Friday the 2nd to Sunday the 4th. Before we let you go, is there anywhere that people can check you out outside of the app?
YouTube channel is pretty much the best place to catch me. It's Mo Rhythm, of course. Just make sure you spell rhythm right. That word trips people up. Yeah,
it trips me up too. Definitely that and vinyl for some reason.
Yes, it's the Y's and the H's. So MORHYTHM. If you go to YouTube/Mo Rhythm, you'll find my videos, and I also teach live classes through membership on my YouTube channel. If you're in an isolated part of town where you don't get access to, a master drummer, that you can access some classes to get you started on the YouTube channel. And then my website, but that's mostly for local shows in California, which internationally you won't be able to come and see me. But YouTube, that's the best spot.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Monette. I hope you have a great time in England. It's quite warm right now, and I hope it is when you get here too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Okay. See ya. The Wooden Roots Experience. So that takes place Friday the 2nd to Sunday the 4th of August in Rendlesham and Snape Maltings in Suffolk. All participants are welcome, from absolute beginners with no rhythm to highly skilled drummers. So if you want to find out more about that, visit woodenroots.com.